Sometime after midnight on February 2nd, 1959, on the eastern slope of a mountain the local Mansi people call Kholat Siahu, Dead Mountain, 9 experienced hikers do something that, even now, makes no sense. They are inside a heavy canvas tent, pitched into a flat platform they cut into the snow that afternoon. The temperature outside is somewhere between minus 25 and minus 40 degrees Celsius. The wind is screaming. They are sleeping. Some are barefoot. Some are in their underwear. Their boots, their coats, their tools, their food, all of it is inside the tent with them. And then, all at once, they cut their way out. Not the front flap. They take knives and they slice through the side of the tent. They go out into the wind, into the dark, into temperatures cold enough to kill an exposed adult in under 30 minutes, and they walk calmly in the wrong direction, down the mountain, toward the trees, away from everything they needed to live. 26 days will pass before anyone finds their tent. 3 months will pass before the last of their bodies is recovered. And more than 65 years later, no one has been able to fully explain why they did it. This is the Dyatlov Pass incident. The leader of the group is Igor Dyatlov. He is 23, a radio engineering student at the Ural Polytechnical Institute in Sverdlovsk. He is intense, focused, respected. Around him are 8 others. Most are fellow students in their early 20s, 7 men and 2 women. There is Zinaida Kolmogorova, 22, popular, warm, the heart of the group. There is Lyudmila Dubinina, 20, civil engineering student, tougher than she looks. She had once been accidentally shot in the leg by a hunter and she had simply kept hiking. There is Yuri Doroshenko, Yuri Krivonishenko, Rostem Slobodin, Alexander Kolevatov, and Nikolai Thibault-Brignol. And there's one outlier, Semyon Solotaryov. He is older, 38. He's not a student. He's a wartime veteran, a sports instructor, working toward a master's certificate in mountain hiking. He has joined the group at the last minute, replacing another hiker who dropped out. Almost no one in the group knows him well. But the plan is simple on paper. They will trek roughly 250 miles round trip through the northern Ural Mountains in winter. They will summit a peak called Mount Otorten. The expedition is rated Category 3, the highest difficulty rating in the Soviet system. If they finish it, every member of the group will earn a Grade 3 hiking certification. They leave Sverdlovsk on January 23rd. A train, and then a truck, then a horse-drawn sleigh into a frontier village called Vizhai. From there, they begin to walk. And on January 28, 5 days into the trek, one of the original 10, Yuri Yudin, turns back. His sciatica has flared, and he can no longer keep up. He hugs his friends, he gives one of them his fur vest. He turns around and starts the long walk back to the village. He will not see the others alive again. He will be the only one to live. The group keeps moving north. We know what happens next because of 3 things. We have their journals. We have their photographs found eventually on the camera still hanging around their necks. And we have the snow. The snow remembers footprints. By the afternoon of February 1st, the group has been hiking for 10 days. Their journals are upbeat. They write about the cold, the jokes, the deep snow. They have written a little newspaper among themselves titled The Evening Otorten, and the headline is a joke. It reads, in translation, "From now on, we know that the snowmen exist. They can be met in the northern Urals next to Otorten Mountain." They are joking about themselves. They are happy, 9 days from completing the most difficult expedition of their lives. That afternoon, they begin to ascend a treeless pass between two mountains. The wind picks up, visibility drops, they lose the planned route slightly, and they end up climbing the eastern slope of a different mountain, Holat Siachel, Dead Mountain. By around 5 in the evening, they decide to stop. They could descend a mile or so to the tree line and camp in shelter. Instead, they choose to dig in where they are on the open slope, and nobody knows exactly why. Maybe they want to hold their elevation for the morning. Maybe the descent feels more dangerous than the camp. So they cut a flat platform into the slope. They pitch the tent. They take a final photograph of themselves doing this, the last photograph any of them will ever take, and they go inside. They eat something. They change into sleeping clothes. Several take their boots off. The fire stove they sometimes assemble for warmth is left disassembled. Whatever they think the night holds, they think it holds rest. And then, sometime between 1 and 2 in the morning, based on the stomach contents found in the autopsies, something happens inside that tent. What happens is this. They cut the canvas open from the inside with the knives. They go out into the night. They walk in single file in tracks investigators will later describe as the steps of people walking calmly, not running or panicking. They walk roughly a mile downhill to a single tall cedar at the edge of a forest. At that cedar, they build a fire, and two of them, Yuri Doroshenko and Yuri Krivonishenko, climb the tree, breaking branches up to about 15 feet, possibly to gather firewood, possibly to look back toward the tent. Their hands are torn open. The fire burns for about an hour and a half. It is not enough. Doroshenko and Krivonishenko die first beneath the cedar, half dressed beside the dying fire. Krivonishenko has third-degree burns on his hand and he has bitten off a piece of one of his own knuckles. The medical examiner will note that you cannot get burns like that if you simply pass out. He was awake when he was burning. 3 others, Dyatlov, Kolmogorova, and Slobodin, try to go back to the tent. Their bodies will be found in a line between the cedar and the tent, all facing uphill. They make it part of the way, and they do not make it back. Slobodin, autopsied later, has a fractured skull. That is 5 hikers. The others, Dubinina, Solotaryov, Thibaut Brignol, and Kolevatov, will not be found in February. They will not be found in March. They will not be found in April. The snow has to melt first. On May 5th, more than 3 months after the night on the slope, a Mansi hunter and his dog notice cut branches in the forest near the cedar tree. He follows the trail and he finds, partly exposed, a piece of black trousers. The right leg has been cut off with a knife. Searchers return. They probe the snow with avalanche poles, and about 75 meters from the cedar in a ravine, under roughly 4 meters of snow, they find the last 4 hikers. And this is where the story becomes something else. The first 5 hikers had died of hypothermia. That was terrible, but it was understandable. People without coats in minus 30 degrees weather die. The 4 in the ravine had not died of hypothermia. Lyudmila Dubinina is on her knees, her face and chest pressed against a rock. Semyon Solotaryov and Alexander Kolevatov are embracing. Kolevatov pressed up behind Solotaryov as if trying to warm him from behind. And Nikolai Thibaut Brignol is just downstream from them, face up in the running water of the creek. And their injuries are catastrophic. Thibaut Brignol has a skull fracture so severe that fragments of bone have been driven into his brain. Dubinina and Zolotaryov have crushed chests, major bilateral rib fractures with hemorrhaging into the heart and lungs. The forensic examiner will testify that the force required to produce these injuries is comparable to a high-speed car crash. But there are no external wounds, no bruising on the chest, no tearing of the skin, no skull lacerations, as if the bones had been broken by an enormous, even pressure from everywhere at once. And then there are the soft tissue findings. Dubinina is missing her tongue. She is missing her eyes. She is missing parts of her lips, a section of facial tissue, and a fragment of bone from her skull. Zolotaryov is missing his eyeballs. Kolevatov is missing his eyebrows. Dubinina, on autopsy, has roughly 100 grams of coagulated blood in her stomach. And that detail is the worst one because coagulated blood in the stomach means she swallowed it, which means she was alive and breathing when whatever happened to her face happened. So there is more. Some of the recovered clothing, when tested, comes back with elevated levels of radioactivity. The clothes belong to Kolevatov and Dubinina. There's no explanation in the case file. And there are also reports from a separate group of hikers about 30 miles to the south of strange orange spheres in the sky to the north of the night on February 1st. Other witnesses in the surrounding region will report seeing similar lights for weeks afterward. The military meteorology service logs them too. They are not in the original investigation file. The Soviet inquest, struggling to describe any of this, closes the case in May of 1959. The official cause of death on paper is, and these are the actual words used, a compelling natural force. The files are sent to a secret archive. It will not stay closed. So for 60 years, the question of what killed the Dyatlov group becomes one of the most enduring open files in the world. There are conventional theories. An avalanche woke them, they fled, they couldn't get back, and they froze. But the slope wasn't steep enough for that typical avalanche. There was no debris when the rescuers arrived. The footprints were calm, not panicked, and the four in the ravine had injuries no surface avalanche should produce. And there are exotic theories. Soviet parachute mines designed to detonate in midair can produce internal trauma without external wounds, and Soviet weapons tests in the area at the time are documented. The orange spheres in the sky might be ordnance. The radioactive clothing fits this picture, sort of, but not really. One of the hikers had worked at a contaminated site after a separate nuclear accident. And, well, there are stranger theories that the hikers experience infrasound or low-frequency vibration from wind moving over the mountain capable of inducing irrational panic, and that this is what drove them out of the tent, that the local Mansi tribe attacked them for trespassing on sacred land, that something climbed down off the mountain and they ran from it. The hikers' joke headline, "From now on, we know that the snowmen exist," has, for some, stopped being funny. The case is reopened by the Russian Prosecutor General's office in 2019. In July of 2020, Deputy Prosecutor Andrei Kuryakov holds a press conference, and he says on behalf of the office, it was an avalanche. Specific kind, called a Slav avalanche. The hikers cut into the slope to make their tent platform, and that cut destabilized a layer of compacted snow above them. Hours later, the slab released, and it hit the tent. They cut their way out and fled, exactly as a Soviet mountain sports textbook would have told them to do. Then they reached the tree line. They tried to wait it out. They couldn't see the tent in the dark, so they froze. In 2021, two Swiss researchers, Alexander Puzerin and Johann Gaum, published a peer-reviewed paper in a Nature journal modeling exactly how a slab avalanche could have done it. Their math accounts for the initial injuries. Their later expeditions captured on video the first documented small slab avalanches at Dyatlov Pass, the kind that vanish without a trace within hours. For many, that closes the case. But for the families of the dead, and for many of the Russian researchers who have spent their lives on this, the science does not close the case. Because the science explains an avalanche, it does not explain the missing tongue. It does not explain the missing eyes. It does not explain the radioactive clothing or the orange lights in the sky or Kolevatov's diary that disappeared from the tent and was never found, or the unidentified camera around Soloviatov's neck. It does not explain why 9 experienced hikers on a clear, well-planned route made this small handful of decisions on February 1st that put them in exactly the worst possible place at exactly the worst possible time. The pass where they died now bears Igor Dyatlov's name. The mountain still means dead mountain in the local language. It had that name long before 1959, and according to some accounts of Mansi folklore, 9 of their own people died on that same slope generations before, under circumstances no one could explain. So whether the number is true or fitted to the case after the fact, no one can say. 9 hikers, same mountain, same 9. So the official answer is an avalanche. The official answer is also, in 1959, a compelling natural force, whatever you decide that means. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I am the crime coroner. Much love and bliss.